What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm James, and this is episode 10.
10.
We're doing best horror movies between the years 2010 and 2020.
There's been a lot of great horror films, so we got a good list tonight.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we just want to thank everybody for all the support, all the 5-star reviews you guys are leaving, even that 4-star review. We still appreciate that.
All the subscriptions, all the comments and love, it's been really great.
Yeah, and we keep getting people asking, like, how don't you guys have like 1 million followers? How don't you guys have a ton of views? We're still new. This is only episode 10, obviously.
Yeah, we've only been doing it for a month.
Obviously, we're blowing up on TikTok pretty quickly, which is super fun. But again, if you want to help us grow, share us with your movie friends. We all know you have movie friends. We have those movie friends. We're a bunch of weirdos. You know, that clique, the people who know who Paul Thomas Anderson is. Like, if you know, yeah, send us to your friends. They'll probably enjoy us as much as you. Help us grow so that, you know, we can keep banging out more videos.
Hell yeah, man.
But let's get into this episode.
Let's start.
So the horror genre has been making a serious comeback in the last decade, after we were basically stuck with kind of like the same sort of horror gore movies.
Pretty generic, yeah.
And everything was kind of just a rerun of itself.
It seems as though torture was really big in the early 2000s.
Yeah, we were inundated with gore franchises. Yeah. I mean, the first Saw movie is amazing, but after that, I don't want to see people get tortured.
And then Hostel came in and... Cabin Fever.
I want to be challenged with a horror movie. I want to like be terrified, not just like scared.
Yeah,
shock scared.
Psychological terror.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so I think the last decade we've seen a lot of very original ideas, a lot of unique directors, and I think there's a lot of optimism for the horror genre. And the movies we're gonna go over is gonna be a clear example of that feeling.
Yeah, and they're making a lot of money. A lot of these horror movies are getting made with very small budgets, and they're killing it at the box office because people love it.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
The first movie we're going to talk about is A Quiet Place. Shh. Nice improvisation. It was written and directed by John Krasinski, who's famous for being Jim on The Office.
Of course.
As well as some...
Marrying Emily Blunt.
Yeah, that's probably his most prominent characteristic in his life, is marrying her. And he's directed a bunch of episodes of The Office and some other movies.
Yeah, he made a documentary and he made a film a few years ago.
Yeah, and he's a co-writer on some screenplays too, like that fracking movie.
Yeah,
that wasn't that great. Yeah. But so I think he just knocked this movie out of the park.
He did such an incredible job directing, and you can see how talented he is at directing just from the first 5 minutes of the movie, because they set up the film without any dialogue. It's just this opening scene with the family, and the way they interact with each other. And the way he directs it and the set design and the actual story of that scene, it tells you all the information you need to know without a single word spoken.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And so it's reminiscent of silent film to me, because I'm a huge fan of silent film. I took silent film history classes in like college and everything, so like I know a lot about silent film, bro.
Oh yeah. Do you even know Buster Keaton?
I took those classes in
what a
college.
fucking nerd.
But I love silent film. And so it shows you, I've always been prominent and vocal on, like, you don't need a ton of dialogue to tell a story.
Exactly.
You can have dialogue. Like, obviously, Tarantino's movies are dense with really smart dialogue.
Yeah, that's his
But you
style.
don't need dialogue to tell a story.
Yeah. And what's interesting is Krasinski actually edited this film without sound.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. Him and his editor, they cut it together without any audio.
Yeah, and the music is pretty airy, too. But, like, he does a good job of only needing it when he really needs it.
Yeah.
And
because it's the silence that really pulls you in.
Yeah, and because he's a great actor too. Yeah, and Emily Blunt's a world-class actress. She's
unbelievable. Yeah,
and you can tell, like, obviously we all know they're married in real life, but that clearly played a key role in their relationship on camera without dialogue.
Like, you can feel how comfortable they are with each other and how close they really are and how connected they are.
You can watch their conversation
just the way they
eyes.
can look at each other or a gesture, and that's all you need from them.
Yeah, it's kind of like that George Clooney movie where he plays like a father of a bunch of kids. It was really popular like 4 or 5 years ago.
The Descendants?
Yeah, The Descendants.
Yeah.
And like you watch that and you're like, I mean, Clooney's great, but like he's not a dad in real life, so you can kind of don't believe him as a dad.
Yeah.
That's why I think in so few movies he has kids.
Yeah.
Because he probably is like, I don't fucking know shit about kids.
Now he does.
I have dogs. Well, yeah, his wife's... He's
got twins now.
Yeah. But so, like, that's an example of, Clooney's a great actor, but he doesn't know what it's really like to be a father.
Yeah, exactly.
These two are really married. They've probably had every kind of beautiful conversation, screaming, yelling match that you can think of. And just like Krasinski's just like, okay, Emily, whatever you say. But
I think the strongest part of this film is the element of the family. It's the glue of the movie. and you really care for every character. But it makes perfect sense that the kind of family that would survive a crisis like this is a family that's already adapted to communicating nonverbally because their daughter is deaf.
Yeah.
So obviously they were able to survive and interact and travel while avoiding these creatures by making as little sound as possible because they already knew how to communicate without sound.
Exactly.
It's a difficult backstory with them and how she feels responsible for her brother's death.
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie.
And that opening scene when the kid gets when the rocket ship goes off and then Krasinski's running across the bridge and he's looking for the monster. And then just before he gets to him, the monster it's so fast, we barely even see it. It just like grabs a kid, snatches him, and goes into the woods like in a split second.
Yeah.
And then the title comes up, and you're like, holy! I think the whole audience was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like this movie's intense.
Yeah, and this is what a lot of great horror directors do is they're very picky of when they show the monster.
Yeah.
They show you just a little bit.
Yeah.
If they even show it until the point that they want to show it, and he gives you that glimpse, but really it's like maybe 3 frames of footage where you can actually see the monster, and you don't know what it looks like. It's like a cloud. You see some weird limbs, and you're like, what the fuck is that?
Because it moves so fast.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like no one said like I mean if you saw the trailer you know there are monsters in the movie.
Yeah.
But like if you watch the first 5 minutes of the movie, you don't know what happened. No one says anything though, like, oh, aliens invaded. You don't really get any information, but he tells you by showing you, which is the most important rule of filmmaking: is show, don't tell.
Exactly. You don't need dialogue.
Yeah.
So like, I love his opening where you know what the world is because there's in that town looking for materials.
Yeah.
It's completely
They're
abandoned.
looking for medicine.
It's not only is it abandoned, there's cars everywhere. There's still supplies on the shelves, which means like people like got the fuck out of Dodge real quick.
Exactly.
Which is obviously he's setting up for the sequel, which is going to be great, where it looks like it's kind of going to be a mixture of a sequel to the storyline as well as a flashback storyline with him.
Yeah.
And like when the shit went down.
Yeah, the like initial attack. I'm really excited for the sequel, but it's too bad. This was the first major release that was affected by coronavirus.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out at the end of March, and then they originally delayed it by 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks, and then they were just like, okay, we're throwing it on the slate for now. We're not putting it out.
It was highly anticipated too.
Yeah. That thing was gonna make easy $100 million. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I hope they don't release it VOD like they just did
They're
with
not
Mulan.
gonna, because this is a movie that can make close to $1 billion, like Wolverine, like Logan and Deadpool making a ton of money rated R. This is gonna make those kinds of numbers, and it won't even make a third or a quarter of that VOD.
And Disney can take the hit with Mulan.
Oh, yeah.
So Disney can release it for $30.
Yeah.
They'll probably make $200-300 million, maybe if they're lucky. But like that's not a huge deal to them as long as they get the franchise out and get the movie done. Because like I say, these companies, they want a return on that investment real fast, bro.
Yeah. And another thing about this movie that I loved is the creature design. I thought it was fantastic. And when you the creature is finally revealed, I thought it was a new look for kind of a monster or an alien that we haven't seen before. It was pretty horrifying, especially when it's like shell of a head like breaks apart and opens up.
It's similar to a Demogorgon.
Yeah, it looks similar to the Demogorgon.
Except the Demogorgon's a little more human looking
Yeah.
in terms of like its body form and like arms and limbs, whereas this thing, it's like got these giant limbs
Yeah.
and it's like walks on its huge wrists or elbows
Yeah.
or something.
And it's one of my favorite shots of like the last decade is the end of A Quiet Place when Emily Blunt gets that shotgun and they look at the security cam footage and there are a bunch of creatures running onto their property and the camera pushes in and she just goes like
Yeah.
cut to black. So fucking awesome.
After they figure out the weapon, what works.
When Krasinski sacrifices himself to save his kids and he does the signing of I love you to his daughter. Oh my, I burst into tears and he just screams like ah.
Yeah, you know he's gonna do it as soon as like he sees the monster. And you're just like, oh, please, John,
it's such a great scene, man.
Don't do it, John.
Unbelievable.
Kill the kids. Stay alive. I love you, Krasinski.
Yeah. Dude, holy fuck.
And very clever movie, very well made. Obviously, it was kind of done over with like the Sandra Bullock movie.
Yeah. What's it called? With the blindfold.
Some Bird Box.
Bird Box.
So kind of like that. That was more like a combination between A Quiet Place and kind of, remember that Mark Ruffalo movie Blindness?
Yeah, with Julianne Moore.
That was a really cool movie where I don't know if everyone's ever seen it, but the whole world just suddenly goes blind.
Yeah.
So it's not obviously like it's a loss of senses, but obviously as an audience member you see it, whereas Quiet Place you still have all your senses, whereas they still have all their senses. They're just trying not to make noise.
Yeah.
But Blindness is a very cool movie. It kind of reminded me of this. It's similar kind of vibe in terms of like you got to be quiet or like you can't see or something like that. But it reminded me of that. But Sandra Bullock's movie more reminded me of that.
Yeah. What's interesting about the backstory for this movie was it was a script that the writers got Michael Bay on board to produce, and Michael Bay had just shot Bengali with Krasinski, and gave him the script because he thought he would be good for it. And Krasinski read it, and he said, "I want to rewrite this and direct it and star in it." And so that's how it came into Krasinski's hands. So it was a Michael Bay production.
Oh, I didn't know it was Michael Bay production. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So if it wasn't for Krasinski doing that Michael Bay movie, he wouldn't have made this movie.
Yeah. Great movie overall. Krasinski knocked it out of the park. Can't wait for part 2 once Corona is over. I want to see that in theaters real bad. And yeah. All right, let's move on to the next movie.
That's all I got, yeah.
The Cabin in the Woods. I really like this movie a lot. I think you had seen it and then you showed it to me.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by it, obviously. And if you like horror movies, if you know a lot about horror movies, this is a great movie to watch because if you want to be scared but also have a fun time.
Absolutely.
And not take yourself or the movie seriously, this is the movie to watch tonight.
This movie is so refreshing because it took every single horror movie trope and cliche and character and monster that you've seen over and over and over again, and it flipped it all on its head.
Yeah.
And it was so unique and creative, and I've never seen a horror movie that was that much fun and engaging and that unpredictable.
Yeah, the whole point of the movie is to be a satire on the horror genre.
Yeah.
And the state of the horror genre at the time, because this came out in 2011, where again, in the beginning of the podcast, we talked about how horror was just like going down the drain in terms of like the same recycled storyline over and over again, same ghost story, gore horror. Yeah. So this was kind of like, fuck that shit. Let's flip this on its head. Let's roast that shit at the same time as making a really good, unique, fun movie.
Yeah, have fun with it.
But so this movie has an interesting story because it was made and it was shot in 2009. And I think it was completed at the end of 2009.
Yeah,
but it was shelved for over a year because of distribution rights problems.
Yeah, it was stuck on the shelf for a long time.
Yeah, so like this came out the same year that Thor 1 came out in 2011. Even though Hemsworth had shot this 2 years before, no one really knew Hemsworth's name.
Yeah.
But then that was like a blessing in disguise because people were like, oh, that guy Thor is in this horror movie. And when you watch the horror movie...
It probably helped the box office for Cabin.
And when you watch Cabin in the Woods, he has like short hair. It's like, wait, did he do this first? And how did he grow his hair so fast? But he shot it 2 years before Thor. And I think it's a perfect horror movie because it's a cool 95 minutes, man.
Oh, yeah, it's tight. There's no fat on it.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, it's smart. It's clever. You kind of don't know what the fuck's going on for a long time.
They're slowly revealing it. And then with Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford... with their characters in the
villain from Billy Madison.
Yeah. See the guy's balls. They're really weird.
They're really weird.
But you're slowly seeing what their world and what their job is, and when it all finally comes together and you realize what they're doing, and that it's all a setup.
Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous concept I've ever seen. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, because they open it up like it's cross-cutting between the classic, like very attractive college, high school kids on their getting ready for a trip, and then cross-cutting with these like office employee engineer looking guys. They look like they're scientists.
They're all wearing white shirts and ties,
and they're like walking around, driving in these carts, talking about we don't know what yet.
Yeah, and
then. Like, the first moment where you're just like, what the fuck's going on is they get gas, and there's that creepy old guy who's, like, preaching, like sermons to them, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on? But then he's in communication and calls these guys in the warehouse or in the science
and
labs.
also, like, when they reveal their control room and they have footage of all the characters, live footage of them.
But before they even get to the cabin.
On the roof, there's the guy.
Yeah. So, on the roof, when they leave the apartment, the gas station guy, and then there's that shot of like they're driving along that cliff, and then this bird or this hawk is flying, and then all of a sudden it hits just like the invisible barrier. And you're like, holy fuck! What is that thing?
That was the biggest reveal because that happened. And you're like, holy shit! What is this?
What is this movie?
Yeah.
What is going on right now? Obviously, there's some kind of connection, and then slowly, and then they get to the cabin, and then the people are watching them in the cabin, and then you're like, this is a fucking setup. This is crazy.
And for anyone who hasn't seen it, ultimately, this government agency is trying to sacrifice this group of teens in order to pay tribute to the gods that live in the underground.
Yeah, so
Because
basically,
if they don't get fed, they will destroy the earth.
that's what's crazy about the whole movie. Like,
So you're rooting for the kids to die.
yeah, but you don't know that immediately.
Yeah.
You don't know that till later. But like the great thing about this movie is so many horror movies are focused just on like the characters. If they die, that's it. If they don't die, that's it. But this is about the end of the world or not the end of the world.
Exactly.
And the whole ending.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, so the ending of the movie, we'll just jump to the ending.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Where the kid, the stoner and the girl survive, and they're just like, fuck it. And they're like, if I'm going to die, I'm taking the world down with me. That mentality is just like, holy shit, this is sick.
Yeah.
So they just let the ancient ones, that's what they call them, right?
Yeah,
the
ancient ones.
They just let them come up and kill everybody and take over the earth. And it's just like, this is fucking
unbelievable,
great.
yeah. Because
So-
you would think that they're gonna be like, oh, we gotta save the earth, but they were like, fuck this. We've been through fucking hell. I'm done. Like they're just like they're over it.
And again, people like you'll read reviews and like go on Reddit and you'll see people so upset about this movie and so upset about the ending.
That's
the
surprising.
Whole thing
Yeah.
is a satire. That's the whole point.
They don't understand it.
That's
It's
the
making
whole
fun
point.
of the genre.
I know. I love horror movies, and I know there are so many horror junkies that just take the genre very close to the chest. Like, it's very meaningful to them.
Yeah.
And they might see this movie as, like, kind of spitting on the genre. But for me, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
It's a postmodernist vision of it, where it's like this genre has been going on for so long, so now we can kind of rewrite it. You know what I mean? And change it and have fun with it.
And then you really start to understand what's going on. Like, when you get what's going on, you're just like, this is
You're
genius.
like, this is amazing.
And you're still terrified at the same time. Like,
And my favorite part of the movie has got to be when Hemsworth gets on that bike, the motorcycle, and he has to jump over the huge pit.
oh, yeah.
And there's this build up. He gives like a speech. He's like, I'm gonna go get help. We're gonna get through this. Fuck these guys.
It's like the hero, the leader,
the hero
the
line,
alpha.
the hero monologue. And he fucking revs his engine. He drives and he jumps off the cliff. And then he crashes into the invisible barrier. Just
He looks like
fucking
he's gonna
falls.
make it, though.
Yeah, he looks like he's about to make it. Then like, slam right into the barrier. And then his friend's like, ah! And then you're like, oh, fuck.
I love that part.
Turning it on his head.
I love the part where they're in the basement and they have to, unbeknownst to them, pick what horror is going to come after them. And they're like going through it. And then you understand like what the pool is and like what they've been talking about. Like,
Yeah,
what,
all the employees have been betting on
because
what
they
they're
have
going to
that
pick.
pool with like maintenance pick this and everyone picked that.
And it's all different trinkets and items in the basement.
The funniest joke in the whole movie is like it happens like 3 times where it's the merman.
Yeah, the merman.
The man thing. And then eventually the guy gets killed by the merman.
He's like, a merman. And then he just fucking destroys him.
And when everything's hitting the fan at like the headquarters of whatever the agency is, and all the monsters are escaping, and it's just so cool to see like all your favorite type of movie monsters,
everything.
and zombies,
werewolves,
and they're
like,
all just escaped and
witches,
eating, and killing everybody.
It's an amazing shot because what happens is the SWAT team comes out and they're in this big elevator lobby, and then all the elevators are coming down, and then they're just waiting to see what comes out. And then the elevator doors open, and all the monsters just fucking pour out and start destroying them. And it's an absolute fucking bloodbath. It's insane. It's one of the craziest shots I've ever seen.
Yeah, and again, it has everything you would want to love about a horror movie. And again, it's just such a good time watching this movie. It really is. It's a
lot
good
of
time
fun.
to watch, like, even if you've seen it once or twice with your friends, your movie homies, you just put this on and you can just roast it the whole time and talk about it the whole time and just laugh the whole time and be scared the whole time. It's a good time horror movie.
It's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, let's move on. Next up on the movie list, again, this isn't like our official like
These
5
are
to
just
1
the ones
list.
we love.
Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
putting this in
There's
just
no
random order. How about we talk about The Witch?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Which you really got me to watch. Again, like you make me watch.
I
a
saw
lot
it
of
in
movies.
theaters and it blew my mind, and I thought it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I went into this movie with no expectations. I didn't really know a ton about Robert Eggers, the
It was
director.
his first movie.
Yeah, it was his first movie.
He was a production designer on films before this film.
But this movie blew me away. Just the hypnotic, slow pace of just tension and like fear and confusion and set in this Puritan time where it's a good place to set it, because if you want the audience to believe there are witches, it's genius to set it in Puritan times when they were killing people because they thought they were witches.
Yeah.
So I think that was really smart for Eggers to do.
And they built that world really well, because you see the community in the beginning, and you can see a bit of the village, and it looks great. and then the characters are they're exiled into the wilderness. So then they eventually build their own home in their own land. And the period clothes are great. The dialogue is very accurate to the times. So that helps add to the realism.
Very symbolic movie in terms of religion, like big time.
And religion was like the science of the day.
Yeah, so there's so many like symbols in terms of like their culture and their community that they get exiled from that can represent, or probably does represent, the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Whereas they get exiled just like Adam and Eve, and they're kind of have to fend for themselves on their own. And then basically the whole story is about sin, and each character in their sins is specifically like, so it starts with the father, his sin of
pride,
self-pride, and conceit, and he ends up like, there's this really beautiful shot after they've been exiled and they're living on their own in their little cabin, and it's a very beautifully lit shot of him at the dinner table, and he looks like Jesus at the Last Supper.
The way they frame it,
beautiful shot,
and the mother's silhouetted.
But it also symbolizes that he's become his own idol.
Yeah,
so that he's just become so obsessed with himself that he runs his world.
Yeah, he's the god of his little bubble now. Makes sense. And I love they slowly roll out the horror element in this film, and you're not really sure what horror is out there, but you just know there's something out there in those woods, but you don't see anything, and it's built up. And then finally, when the son gets lost in the wilderness, and he happens upon the witch's hut in the middle of the woods, and she takes the form of like a beautiful woman to egg him in, just like Hansel and Gretel.
Who, Caleb, the son, because his sin is lust.
Yeah, so he goes after her. But when Eggers finally reveals the true form of the witch, and she's like this gross, disgusting, like ancient, like naked witch, and she's like covering herself with blood and doing some kind of ritual, it's disturbing as fuck. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And then you're like, holy fuck, there's a real witch in those woods.
Yeah. It's kind of like The Shining when the old woman, when Jack goes to see her
exactly,
in room 237.
Same kind of horror.
At first, she's this beautiful woman, and then he looks in the mirror, and she's this gross old lady who's been in the tub for 100 years kind of thing. And, you know, the film, Eggers does such a good job, like, playing off their near universal human fear that people had of the woods with darkness. They didn't know what was in there at nighttime. You know, they didn't have lights. So there's
and
always
they believed in monster stories.
They
like
believed
those
in witches.
They believed.
It wasn't uncommon to believe in something unnatural hiding in the woods.
Yeah. And then the story took a really interesting turn of how paranoid people were back then of witchcraft and of the devil, because very, very similar to The Crucible, and how the young girls of that town started accusing random people of witchcraft. Just like that, the family in the story start accusing each other of witchcraft until the daughter ends up being the sole perpetrator suspect.
Yes, they all start.
They turn on each other.
They all start eventually to turn on Thomason, the girl. Yeah. So especially when the young boy Caleb is kind of having that like possession moment.
But first, before that, sorry to interrupt, is when she's joking with her brother and sister, like, "Oh, I'm a witch." Like she's just teasing them, trying to scare them because they're being annoying. But ultimately, she scared them so much that they were convinced that she was a witch after this happened.
Well, yeah, but during that seance or whatever, what's going on when the kid is like near death and dying on the bed, that's when the young twins start screaming at her, saying that she's a witch, you're a witch, she's the witch, she's the witch. The mother thinks she's a witch. The mother tries to kill her.
They
because
believe
she
it
thinks
right
she's a
away.
witch.
Yeah.
The father, not immediately. It's more the mother at first. But then he starts to assume that she's the witch and accuse her of being the witch. Yeah. So her whole entire family turns on her. Yeah. Which shows you that really because the whole movie, you don't know who the witch's sole target is. Yeah. Or like, what's the witch's intention? Who's she really going after the most? And you eventually learn that she's going after Thomason the most. Yeah. So Thomason eventually becomes the main target of the witch.
And what's so cool about this movie, and I'm building off of that point that you just made, this movie essentially is like the origin story of how a witch becomes a witch, because Thomason, she's forced to kill her mother to defend herself, and so once she's committed the sin of killing another human being, especially her mother, that was like the what do you call it? Initiation, the first step of initiation to becoming a witch.
Enact a mortal sin.
Exactly. So it begs the question. You never seen like how a witch becomes a witch in a movie before.
Not really. No, they're just already witches.
Yeah. So it was so cool to see like this girl go from an innocent, naive girl to volunteering herself to become an agent of the devil. It was so cool, so fascinating. I've never seen it done before. And it has that amazing shot at the end where she's walking into the woods and that crazy choral singing like in The Shining is happening. It's just building louder and louder. And then she gets to the fire pit and there are witches dancing around and then they start rising into the air. And then she slowly starts rising into the air and she's loving it. Like she's like, it looks like she's like experiencing pleasure from it.
Yeah, well, just because before that she is talking to the goat.
Yeah,
asking
Black
the goat.
Black Adam.
No, it's Black Phillip.
Black
the
Phillip,
goat, who we'll talk about in a minute. And so towards the end of the movie, everyone's dead except for her, and she's talking to the goat, and the goat's asking her what she wants.
Yeah,
and basically she wants power. She wants maybe not immortality immediately, but she wants to be seen.
Yeah.
She wants something better in her life. And basically the goat's coaxing her to become a witch.
Yeah.
And tells her what to do. But go back to The Shining. This movie reminds me a lot of The Shining. So there's a lot of similar traits. So it's about a family that's exiled.
Yeah.
And so in The Shining, obviously it's a family isolated.
Isolation,
just like them too. And they have to survive the father's mental breakdown, which they have to try to do during this movie as well. And also sudden violent and homicidal urges. Very similar too. And then there's the more relatable, the shift in status, the more effective the problem, the impact the audience itself in terms of there's the concept of family versus religion. Whereas maybe there's not religion really in The Shining, but that's more the family versus the haunting of the hotel.
Yeah, it's like it's like The Shining meets The Crucible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously this movie introduced us to Black Phillip, who's like now a horror icon.
Dude, before the movie came out, that was the most iconic image. Everyone was talking about this goat. Can it talk? I heard it talks in this movie.
Yeah, there's trailers just for Black Phillip the goat.
It had its own poster.
Yeah. And
but when he kills the dad, oh my god. He slams his horn right into him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was insane.
It's ironic because the dad could have killed the goat earlier in the movie, but he chooses not to.
Spared him.
And so the goat in multiple movies, like we've seen it in Drag Me to Hell, the goat symbolizes either a demon or the devil himself.
Yeah, it was back then too. That was a symbol for it.
So like again, they used the goat as a transfer of the demon in Drag Me to Hell to try to kill the demon. So they would try to put it inside the goat.
Also a great horror movie.
Yeah,
but it was 2009, so it doesn't qualify.
Yeah, I really like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
But the goat also walks with Thomasin at the end of the woods. He walks right past her when she's walking to the other witches in their bonfire.
Yeah.
With marshmallows and shit.
But it was a great film. Never seen anything like it, and Eggers knocked it out of the park for his debut.
Yeah. And one other image is the hair. So the hair is also present in like witch mythology, where it can represent either a spy for the witch or be the witch itself spying on her prey, its prey.
That makes sense.
So there's multiple times in the movie you see this black hair. You're like, what the fuck is that hair doing? Like it's just watching them do shit.
Great second watch or third watch. Yeah.
So that I think the hair itself is the witch spying on them rather than a spy because the witch can shapeshift.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
I think
That's
was
simpler.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to move on to Jordan Peele's directorial debut, Get Out.
Oh, shit.
Highly successful movie. This movie was the most successful movie of 2017 with a budget of $4.5 million, box office draw of $255 million domestic, USA only.
Blumhouse was very happy about that.
Not only that, it was only shot in 23 days.
Damn.
So, most profitable film shot in 23 days, 2017, Get Out. One of the most original, clever films I've seen in the horror genre in a long time.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like Sidney Poitier's movie that he's in, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, mixed with Stepford Wives, like that kind of vibe. And this movie, again, we saw it in theaters.
Yeah,
similar to Cabin in the Woods, you don't really know what's going on in this movie, like the whole time. You know it's a horror movie going into it, but you don't know really what the story is. The trailers look super interesting.
But the first act seems very normal.
Yeah. But basically with this movie was word of mouth ignited the country and ignited audiences. It was like, you got to see this movie. You got to see this movie. It's nuts. And the cool thing about it was no one would tell you what it's about, which is great because sometimes people spoil movies for other people.
Yeah.
And so this was a big time word of mouth, go see this movie, even though you've never heard of it, even though you've never heard of the director, even though you've never heard of the actors. I recognize the actor.
Black Mirror.
Yeah, so he's in the episode of Black Mirror, kind of the same character he plays as when he plays Chris in Get Out.
Yeah.
But blew me away. Phenomenal movie.
Jordan Peele absolutely crushed it with this. It was such a surprising movie. And it has really heavy themes and ideas, but he made it really engaging, and he made it there's a lot of humor in it, obviously, because he's so naturally funny, but it is terrifying, not in the way that like a gory movie or like a monster movie is terrifying, but psychologically terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's horrific, the ideas and themes that characters carry out in this movie.
Yeah, and he he had multiple inspirations for this movie. So I know Eddie Murphy, he has a stand-up bit back in the day where he talks about he's showing his wife a house at an open house, and then the people say that there's a ghost in the house, and he's like, why do white people stay in the house if there's a ghost in there? So that's basically like the bit. He's like black people get the fuck out right away.
Yeah.
So that's where he got the name like Get Out and kind of the concept.
Yeah, and one of the craziest parts of that movie is when like Keith Stanfield, when the Flash makes him come to for a moment, and he takes control of the body for like a couple of seconds, and he just screams, "Get out!" You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Because when you see him and he's the only other black guy there, but he's acting like an old
Super
white man.
strange,
Like
yeah.
he's acting very strange.
He messes up the dab.
And everything. And so you're like, what is going on with this guy? Then the Flash. And then after that, you're still confused of what's going on.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is Jordan, he plays so much on different social themes in terms of like the way black people have been treated in America over the last few centuries. And like obviously you think that as an audience member, I know I thought I was like, are they selling black people? Are they buying black people? Like what's going on
I
here?
thought it was something like that too.
Because it's obviously an auction going on. There's obviously a secret silent auction going on. Is that what they're doing? Are they going to kidnap Chris and somehow like drug him? Like his TSA agent friend thinks he's like, oh, they're drugging these black people up. And they're turning them into sex slaves. So is that really what's going on? But then Jordan just takes it into a whole crazy sci-fi direction.
He goes even deeper,
where they're just stealing their bodies. Yeah, which is so cool to think of.
It's unbelievable. And when Catherine Keener puts David Kaluuya into that zone, what is it called?
Oh, the sunken place.
The sunken place. It was so shocking, and you see him, and he's just falling into this darkness, and then he's just seeing like what his eyes see is just becomes like a small television screen in the distance, and he has no control over anything.
Because up until that point, the parents seem a little off. The mother seems a little nutty, but also seems very nice. The father, Jordan Peele does a great job making you relate with them, like the Obama line. I would have voted for Obama a third time.
They seem like they're like trying not to be racist white people.
Yeah, they seem very nice.
Yeah,
they're just very wealthy.
But it couldn't be further from the truth.
And then speaking of the sunken place, very visually stunning and horrifying.
Yeah.
But also Jordan Peele revealed that the sunken place represents the marginalization of the black community by white people in America. And so basically shrinking into that abyss, the loss of voice, the loss of
they become helpless. Yeah.
So that's basically to represent how
inability to control their own lives.
How black people were treated, obviously pre-civil rights.
Yeah.
Pre 1965 or 1966, whatever year that was.
I love the ending so much when he escapes the house and he kills the family, and he finally got away, and then all of a sudden a cop car shows up, and you're like, oh no.
Because obviously in your head they're gonna be like, the black guy killed everybody. We're gonna arrest him.
Yeah, he's gonna be guilty for murder, and then the door opens and his buddy comes out. And he's like, T.S. motherfucking A. I told you not to go to that house with those white people.
He's so funny in that movie.
It was like a relieving moment of like relief and like joy and laughter. But what's really interesting is Jordan Peele wasn't sure if that was the right ending, so they actually filmed two endings. So the second ending they actually filmed it ended up being a real cop who arrested David Kaluuya,
Chris,
for killing the white family. So he gets arrested for murder, and then his friend visits him in jail like a month later.
Yeah.
So that was the alternate ending to get out.
I'm glad he didn't do that.
Yeah, me either. Because it was like he deserved like to get out of there. You know what I mean? No pun intended. He went through hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think it would have been as acclaimed as it was if they did it like that.
Yeah. Because that laugh, that was such a needed laugh. You know what I mean?
It really was. Because the last hour of that movie, the last 30 minutes of that movie is
intense.
so tense when he gets knocked out, when he wakes up tied up to that sofa chair, the shit that's going on the TV screen, the father, when you finally realize they're cutting people's fucking heads open and transferring like their souls into other beings, into other bodies, and watching him escape and beating the brother and everything, and then the girlfriend, Rose. But like you're right, he really deserved that ending to get away scot-free.
And the audience needed that.
Yeah.
I think the audience, if it ended up him getting arrested, it would have been a big downer.
Yeah.
But him getting away and also his buddy just pulling that one-liner, it was just like, we can relax finally. He got out. Oh, it's okay. He's okay.
Yeah. Something else really interesting that Get Out is about is it's also about the Holy Grail. So this was coming from Jordan Peele. So in the opening scene when Jeremy abducts Andre, who was obviously later on in the movie, he's got a Knights Templar helmet, which is one of the small elements of the detailed backstory Peele gave the Red Alchemist Society, which is the family and the secret group who buys the bodies of the black people to inhabit. And they also believe they are destined for immortality and deity status, basically meaning they'll never die because they keep transferring bodies.
Yeah.
And so that's really fun to take that giant ancient concept and attribute it to this wild sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like these people figured out a way to become immortal. But also a character says something like I think one of the reasons why they're choosing black people is because he says black is cool now or something like
black
that.
Is in or
black is vogue, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so bad. And there are probably people like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Real viewpoints like that.
Also, Get Out is the first February release since Silence of the Lambs to score a Best Picture nomination.
Wow.
And David Kaluuya also got a Best Actor nomination.
Yeah, he was unbelievable in it. Yeah.
Really great in this movie because I remember seeing him in Black Mirror. I'm like, wow, this guy's fucking awesome at acting. And that was one of my favorite Black Mirror episodes.
Yeah.
That was like season 2 or season 3.
Yeah.
And he's phenomenal.
There's a story of Jordan Peele. He was initially thinking about acting in it himself, but then he held auditions, and then Kaluuya auditioned, and they did the chair scene where he gets put in the sunken place. And Peele said that Kaluuya sat in the chair and he did the scene, and then tears started streaming down his face, and he's like, "Oh, this guy is a real actor."
Not that Jordan Peele's not a good actor, but like David Kaluuya is a great.
He can
great
do stuff
talent.
not many people can do. You know what I mean?
So that was a phenomenal performance. But like when he's in that chair, you're like, "Holy shit!"
Because I think the most iconic image from the entire movie is his shocked face with the tears stream down his cheeks. I think it's such an iconic image that really makes you so curious about what the movie was.
It's one of the new most iconic images in horror genre in
Absolutely,
general. It really is. It's everywhere. You can get a fucking phone case of that. But this movie's full of subliminal messages, obviously. And one of my favorite ones is so after Chris gets kidnapped and he's down and he's trapped, and everyone thinks the whole situation's over. Specifically, the daughter Rose and the mother. So they're up in the house doing whatever.
Yeah.
This is before he escapes. And while he's escaping, Rose is just in her bedroom and she's hunting for new black dudes to steal and to trap. And she's just doing the psychotic thing where she's eating Fruit Loops and drinking milk. So the Fruit Loops are in a bowl, and she'll eat the Fruit Loop and then drinks the milk out of a glass
with a straw,
which is psychotic.
It's insane.
And this is obviously, it can be looked at symbolically, where she has a white glass of milk and then she has a bowl of colored Fruit Loops where she doesn't want to mix the white with the black. And she's also using a black straw, which can insinuate interracial sex, which she has interracial sex as she tries to trap and kidnap all these black guys for the alchemist group. So that's like one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in terms of like people eating.
And she's
things.
got like this creepy face on. It's like she finally revealed who she really was.
Yeah, she's like a bird, like just like taking these little bites and these little sips, and it's just like a very creepy shot.
Yeah.
And I read that Peele it was in the script, but he didn't know what she was going to eat. And so he's like trying to think of like, what's the weirdest, most psychotic food she could be eating? And what's the craziest way she could be eating it? And then he thought of a very smart way to show it.
Yeah.
And that's just a very creepy image to me. And she's great because he picked like a perfect actress. Not even was she a good actress, but in terms of like, she looks like that girl that you've had a crush on your whole life.
Wholesome girl next door.
Girl next door, sweet, innocent, strong, funny, until she turns crazy.
Yeah.
So she was perfectly cast. The whole movie's like perfectly cast.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention the guy from Billy Madison. Also, he's 2 movies in this list.
Yeah, he's been in 2 great horror movies.
He gets eaten by a merman, then he gets hit in the head, or right? Yeah, he gets
Something
knocked
like
in. Yeah, his skull gets bashed in.
Yeah, he bashes his skull in. Yeah. He's killing it. But he's on a Handmaid's Tale now, so he's set.
Yeah, he's doing well. He had quite a string of no work at all.
Yeah. All right, how about we move on to Hereditary,
Okay.
which I think is just a straight one of the most horrific movies I've ever seen.
One of the most terrifying movies I've ever watched in my life.
It's
Like,
unbelievable.
I was scared the entire movie, and not only because of how terrifying it is, but like, again, slow tension and like the way it's shot, the way it's acted, the storyline that's going on. Again, you don't really know what's going on.
Characters.
And you just the tension builds up, and like the daughter's this weird kid, and then like the son's also kind of a weird kid, and then the mother with the miniature models that she's constantly building, which reflects her mind state. So the models, we'll get into that, reflects basically her and the family's state of mind throughout the movie, which is why obviously in the beginning of the movie she's working really hard on them, but then she starts to slack. She's getting calls from the people that she borrowed the money, that got the loans to them from, and she's like, there's going to be a delay. Then she eventually destroys all her models because at that point she's just gone completely bonkers.
Yeah, she's lost it.
But I love the imagery of that to represent the family.
Yeah, and it's such a great slow burn of a movie where everything's slowly rolled out, and when it crescendos upwards and it finally comes to its climax, I've never been so you're rarely this on edge in a movie theater.
I was scared shitless when we saw this in theaters, man. Yeah. Holy shit. Like as soon as you know what's going on, and like once like people start getting possessed and the mom gets possessed and she's like tiptoeing around the house.
She's on the fucking ceiling.
And she's like a demon, and she's got like the weird posture in the eyes and everything, and Toni Collette's just chasing the son around the house.
Oh my god. The most terrifying thing in that movie, I think, is when Toni Collette's on the fucking ceiling and she's hacking at her neck with barbed wire, just like back and forth, like, and she's just like got this face. Toni Collette should have probably won an Oscar for this performance. She didn't even get nominated.
Dude, she's so good in it.
She does so much in this movie. It's insane how much she does in this movie.
Yeah,
and she's so convincing the whole time. She fully commits to it.
Yeah,
and
man.
The movie's on her shoulders. You know what I mean?
That scene in the attic, man. Holy shit! Every time I watch, I've seen it 3 times, and I'm always scared shitless.
Horrifying.
And
also one of the most powerful horror images I think in recent memory is when her husband catches on fire when she throws the what's she throw in the fire? The book?
Yeah.
Yeah. She throws the book into the fireplace, and then he just suddenly bursts into flames, and it's just this wide shot, and she's just like staring at him in horror and shock, and he just is just burst. He's just caught on fire. It's unbelievable. And this beautiful image of the warm light in the house, and it's just insane.
Yeah, and then when you finally, the ending, when like people are being reborn and the people that are naked in the woods and hiding out are finally coming out, and you realize that it's about bringing life to a deity named Paimon. You're just like, what the fuck is going on with this movie? And the cool thing about this movie is when you watch it again, you realize that the daughter, Charlie, had Paimon inside of her the entire movie. So as soon as she was born, she had the demon Paimon inside of her. However, Paimon needs a male host. And so when Toni Collette's characters, they explain in the movie when she had the son, there's no way she was going to give her to her mother, the grandmother. So the grandmother
who was in the cult.
She was in that cult trying to bring Paimon back to life.
Yeah. And
she wouldn't give her son to the grandmother because she obviously wanted, Toni Collette didn't know, but the grandmother wanted to bring Paimon back to life.
Yeah.
So then she settles for the daughter. So Paimon is living inside the daughter, Charlie, the whole movie, her whole life, as a placeholder for when they find a replacement body, and it's just so creepy.
And that's why that makes sense, because that's why after the daughter dies, then the son starts getting possessed by Paimon.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why she makes all these weird things. She makes like these weird bodies with twigs and stuff. And I think for me, when I watched it the second time, I'm like, that looks like it represents the body that she wants, or the body that she wants to be, or Paimon wants to be.
Another thing I love about this film is the ending, where the demon wins in the end.
Yeah.
It gets born into the earth, just like in Rosemary's Baby, which I think has also one of the best endings, probably the best ending in horror movie history, where the Antichrist is successfully born, and then Mia Farrow decides to become a mother to it. So the cult wins, and this demon is on Earth now.
Yeah.
Same, and it's just like this. It's like the good guys didn't win. We're fucked. And it's unbelievable. It's great. Yeah. It's so good.
You're right. It's very similar to Rosemary's Baby, which is a freaking masterpiece of a movie.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my God, I love that movie. I watched it like 2 months ago for the first time in years, and I'm just like, holy shit.
It's great.
My God.
It's unbelievable.
But Hereditary is terrifying. It's
really well made.
Shot.
Really well made.
Beautifully shot.
Yeah. And there's a great moment where the son, he's so, everything's like, time's like blended together for him. And there's a shot where he's in the house and it's nighttime, and he's just like got this face, and he's like lost. And then it sharp cuts and he's in class, but he's in the identical position, but it's daytime and he's in his classroom. And it's this amazing cut. It's one of my favorite cuts.
Bro, when he smashes his face on the desk in his classroom.
Oh my God.
I lost him, man.
And his classmates just fucking freak out and get away from him. Oh, and you can see like he's not doing it. Yeah. He's under control of something else.
And the cool thing, the actor, he told the director, Ari Aster, he's like, I'll do it on a real desk. I'll break my nose on the real desk. And Ari Aster's like, dude, that's illegal. I don't want to get sued. So they brought in, they had like a prop cushioned safety desk that he did it on, but you could still hurt yourself on it. He didn't break his nose or anything, but I know he hurt himself pretty well on it because he fucking smashed his face on that thing.
Yeah, it looked like it.
And he gave a really great performance.
He was
in that
good.
movie.
Yeah, he was really good.
Besides Tony Colletti, he was the best part of the movie.
Yeah,
he's really great. And just Ari Aster in general, what a visionary horror director.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy's ideas. Not even, we'll talk about Midsommar in another podcast and his other great movies, but like the guy is so smart and unique. And it's just, his movies exude just terror.
Yeah.
And fear.
Dread.
Man. Yeah. Every time I watch one of his movies, holy shit, you're in for it.
You know things are happening. You know it's going to build to something horrible. And the whole time, you're just like, cringing, like, what's going to happen? Oh, something really bad's going to happen soon.
I swear, every time I watch one of his movies, even if I've seen it again, I'm not the same person. It's like doing like LSD. It fucks with your brain, man.
He's probably the best new addition to horror.
Yeah, so again, like we were talking about earlier, like there's so many new great horror writer directors.
Yeah.
Not even very popular ones like Ari Aster, but like even someone like Ty West, who's generally unknown to like the broad audiences in America, but like he's made some great horror movies.
He's made some excellent movies,
like House of the Devil and Innkeepers and the cult one that he did. Yeah. So like there's so much great talent and new young talent for horror directors right now, and we're really seeing that with Ari Aster specifically. He's probably the best working right now, in my opinion.
Him and Rupert Eggers are killing it.
Yeah. We got The Invisible Man.
Oh, man.
Again, a movie that, like usual, you're like, dude, you gotta see this movie. You gotta watch it. And like you watched it the week before, like you're like, dude, I watched it the other day. I'll watch it again right now.
I was telling you for days. I was like on you for days to watch it.
Yeah, I went into this movie, again, zero expectations, just like The Witch. And the trailer was good, but you know,
it looks like, okay.
It kind of like seems like the Kevin Bacon one,
I
guess.
Man.
And you're like, I mean, okay, only from your very strong recommendation. I was like, all right, let's watch this movie. It was like a Friday night. And this movie is fucking great.
It's incredible.
It's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite movies in the last couple of years, man. Like, it blew me away. And I was genuinely terrified multiple times.
You screamed a couple of times.
There's a few times
you jumped more than a few times.
Like, obviously, there's going to be spoilers, guys. So, specifically, I'll just say the one time I screamed the loudest was when she's in the attic and she finds the phone and then the whole movie you're like, where's the guy? He's invisible. He's somewhere.
He could be anywhere.
And then like she looks down the attic door again and then she takes paint and throws it down the attic hole, and he's just right there and he gets covered in paint.
Yeah.
And I fucking screamed. I was like, ah!
You were like, oh shit. You were like literally going, fucking A.
Dude, I was scared shitless, man.
That movie was so smart because they took the idea of, okay, this guy is invisible, but they made it, they turned it into this story about what it's like to be in an abusive relationship. And like people who are in abusive relationships, they're pretty much like in their own horror movies just in their lives.
Yeah.
And they're stuck and they're trapped in this horrible life.
But he did it in such a smart way that it was unique.
Yeah.
And you really like felt that like these people who are trapped in these situations, they can't escape.
Yeah,
and she goes through this. The opening of the movie is this crazy elaborate scheme that she's clearly been planning for weeks. And it's not the first time she's tried to escape.
Yeah, clearly.
And she almost doesn't get out alive. Yeah. And it's just fucking the whole opening. I was shitting my pants just trying to watch her escape.
Exactly. It was very similar to the opening in A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
No dialogue, but you can tell what's going on.
Tension.
And Elizabeth Moss showed, because I'm a fan of hers, because you watch Mad Men.
Yeah.
But I've watched The Handmaid's Tale, and I've seen a bunch of her independent films that she's made, and she really is one of the most talented actors working today, and she carries that movie. She emotes so much and gives so much to a performance that, like, so few actors are capable of, and she carries this movie on her shoulders.
Yeah. She's so talented that she can get a role like this and just keep you invested in it the whole time.
Yeah.
And also, when you're watching this movie and she's married to this incredibly rich, incredibly successful, smart, attractive guy, and you're kind of like, how did she get this guy?
Yeah.
How did she get this guy? Because he looks like he could get any person in the world, any wife he wants, and he even says that, or she even says that too. Like, why me? Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
And so, why do you think she?
Well, I think
she gets picked.
We don't learn about their history as a relationship, but I think in the past that she has rejected him in the past because no one says no to him. No one has ever said no to him, and that's what drives him crazy. And so I think that in the past she has rejected him, and it's caused him to desperately want her more than anything, which is why he concocts the entire plan of building an invisible suit to terrorize her and force her into coming back into his home.
Yeah. So basically, her previous attempts that you don't see, previous attempts trying to escape is her rejecting him, which he can't take.
Yeah, he hates rejection more than anything. And it was so smart because in the past Invisible Man movies like Hollow Man and the old Invisible Man, he's biologically invisible. Mm-hmm. But in this, especially with our familiarity with Iron Man and like in movies, like we see like the craziest technologies in movies, so we're used to things like
this. And in real life.
Yeah, in real life, it's pretty believable that someone could invent this suit that can make you invisible. Like there are invisible, like there's cars that have been built to be invisible. Like not perfectly, but like they're getting better.
It's believable, yeah.
So it's totally believable that a suit like this can exist.
Like this suit full of just high quality cameras.
Yeah.
Just projecting
a mirror image.
And or invisible image. You're right. You do believe it. And the cool thing about it is anyone can do it.
Exactly.
And we see in the movie 3 different people put on the suit and become invisible.
Exactly. And also it sets up the possible ideas for a next film for it. Yeah. She ends up at the end of the movie with an invisible suit.
And the thing with it is he's not in the movie very often, the husband.
No. I think they're just a couple, not married.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that's great about it is he's just tormenting her, and you as an audience member, and even he torments his brother. So no one is safe from this guy.
Exactly.
He controls his entire brother's life, and his brother knows he's alive still. And he uses his brother, who eventually gets killed, impersonating him in the suit to try to kill her friend's daughter.
Yeah.
And they did a good job with like the relationships with the family and her friends.
Yeah.
It was very believable. It's not like one of those horror movies that falls into, of course she's got these friends that are kind of cliche.
Exactly,
but it was a good job. And then you really felt the threat with the daughter. And when like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is she's in that like room that she's sleeping in at her friend's house. And she knows he's like, she's starting to believe that he's invisible. He's somewhere in the room. And she like starts throwing shit on the floor to see if she can see his footsteps and stuff like that.
It was the first sign of her suspicious.
Yeah, and it was like 5 minutes of that, and you're just like, where is his footsteps?
Because you know he's there.
He's there.
And then he steps on the blanket.
Yeah. Holy
shit. The most shocking part of that movie is when she goes to dinner with her sister to try and get her sister to help her out. They had a bad situation before, so her sister became estranged, but she's like trying to repair the relationship, and she's like, I need your help. And then her sister's like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'll support you with whatever's going on. And then all of a sudden, a knife just starts floating in the air next to her sister and slits her throat. And then it goes right into Elizabeth Moss' hand, and her sister just fucking collapses on the floor, and the entire restaurant freaks out. And then Elizabeth Moss is just sitting there holding the knife. So obviously it looks like she just killed her sister.
Yeah.
And then she gets put into a mental institution. But that scene was like, holy fuck.
The best part of that scene, though, is obviously the shock of it.
Yeah.
But also, for like 2 seconds, her sister's like, you can see the sister in her eyes believes her.
Yeah.
Now she gets what the
Exactly,
fuck she's
she
talking
finally
about.
on her side.
She sees the knife. She's like, oh my God, she wasn't lying. Boom, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Slit my throat. That was
was
the
insane.
craziest scene. Never seen anything like it.
Unbelievable.
This whole movie was kind of like, you've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
It's so smart.
Very unique and original.
It's kind of just like a constant chase scene movie. She's on the run.
Cat and mouse. And she's up to this. She's able to defend herself and fight back. Like when we find out she's pregnant, so obviously he doesn't want her to die. And then she, thinking that he's in the room with her, threatens to kill herself. And this gets him to reveal himself, and then she stabs him. Mm-hmm. And this helps her escape the mental institution.
Yeah. But that scene in the hallway when like his
With the
cameras are
security
going
guards.
on and off.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And then he goes to town on those security guards. It was so well shot and just shocking. And then like all the security guards, when they show up on the scene, they're like, they see their friends are all fucking dead. They're like, oh, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And then he'll just like grab one of them and just shoot them. Oh my God.
And then the rain in the parking lot
Yeah.
when she's chasing after him because now she has the gun.
Yeah.
And she's trying to catch him.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie is phenomenal.
So good.
If you guys have never seen it, The Invisible Man is really, really good.
It's got a fantastic ending, and all in all, it's one of my it really is one of my all-time favorite horror movies.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
It's a bold statement, everybody.
Very bold.
bold statement. Elizabeth Moss killed it.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more movie
Ooh.
that we're going to talk about. The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Shot on old film and old cameras, black and white. Fantastic psychological horror film. Again, Robert Eggers on this list.
Rupert
because-
Eggers.
Rupert Eggers? Is
Yeah.
it Rupert? Did I call him
Rupert.
Robert earlier?
Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay. I'll
Whatever.
Cut it. I'll cut it.
Rupert Eggers. I went into this again not really knowing exactly what it was, but I love Willem Dafoe.
And the trailer was visually striking
Yeah.
and interesting.
I'm a big fan of Robert Pattinson.
Me too.
But I will warn you, this movie is not made for conventional audiences.
It's not a typical kind of movie.
This movie most likely won't be for you, even if you're a horror fan, because it's such like a in-depth look at a relationship in a time you've never been.
So this movie, it's very unconventional in the way it's told, because the movie itself is a story about madness and falling into madness. So the story and the writing and the dialogue and the plot, it matches that idea of just the movie becomes madness. So it's a difficult movie to watch if you're not a lover of these kinds of challenging movies. But if you do love challenging movies, it's right up your alley and you would love it.
Yeah, specifically because it's so much like a play. It's just two guys
Yeah.
in a house.
Yeah. One setting.
Outside, yes.
But it's one location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really just one location. And Willem Dafoe gives like his best performance I've ever seen in my life.
It's one of my favorite performances, and I think it's the biggest Oscar snub in recent memory, because Willem Dafoe absolutely destroys this movie. The amount of dialogue this guy had was insane. He just goes off on monologue after monologue. He's got this incredible character he's created. He's often drunk and belligerent. He's got a pipe in his mouth the whole time.
Yeah, and you don't really see like you read about drunken sailors
Yeah.
in books, but you don't really see it visually on camera a lot.
He felt like he was a 200-year-old drunken sailor. It's not just dialogue. It was like Orwellian dialogue it's nothing that we're familiar with. And he is just pouring it out like a professional.
Yeah.
And he's so good in the movie. I can't believe he didn't get any Oscar nominations.
Yeah, it's just it's a raw performance, man.
Yeah.
And then another great thing about this movie is the lighting in this movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of night scenes of them like getting drunk in the kitchen, getting drunk and stuff, and there's just like or like in their bedroom, and there's just like one little light. And it's beautiful. It has this beautiful like aura effect on this old film and in these old lenses and this old camera.
Well, it's actually interesting that you pointed that out, because quite the opposite is in what happened in real life. So the film they used, it was incredibly insensitive. So they had to use twice as many lights as they normally would have on a set.
Or brighter light, or very bright lights.
They had to use more lights than any other set because the film needed, in order to capture the image, it needed way more light than a normal film.
The lenses are so slow.
Yeah. No, the film.
Okay.
It's old film. So on set, the lights were so bright that the actors were often like wincing with pain from their eyes because it was so. Imagine the movie, watch it again, and just imagine like these huge spotlights on them the entire time.
That's crazy because it's such a dark.
The movie is dark,
at nighttime.
so it's like literally like two strips of film on top of each other.
Yeah.
So that's why you need to, in order to penetrate that, you need twice as much light to get it.
And Eggers does such a great job making you feel like you're there because, like, while watching this movie, I'm, like, in a comfortable movie theater.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm cold. I feel like I'm wet. I feel like there's ocean breeze blowing on me because the characters are feeling it, and they do such a good job of emoting it. And you feel like you're in these shitty conditions, in this shitty storm going on, in this tiny cabin that's not heated, nothing works. They have just liquor, and, like, he makes the same crappy meal every night.
Tell me you're fond of me lobster. My favorite line.
Their relationship is just so interesting,
Yeah.
and unique, in like how it degrades towards the end of the movie, and how nuts Defoe is, and how you think Pattinson's character isn't nuts, but eventually becomes nuts as well.
Yeah.
And becomes maybe even crazier than Willem Dafoe's character.
He becomes intoxicated by the lighthouse.
Yeah, so the lighthouse is just this emblem where Defoe won't let him go to it and won't let him inside.
Yeah,
And
well-
Defoe keeps it for himself.
Yeah. So the movie is a interpretation of Greek myth, the Greek myth of Prometheus. Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to the humans on Earth. And he is punished by the gods by having his insides eaten by birds for eternity.
Is it his entire insides, or is it just his liver?
It's his liver.
Yeah,
his liver.
so I think his liver for
liver.
the rest of eternity. He's chained down, has to be cut
Yeah,
open and
for
eaten
eternity.
forever.
That he has to suffer that forever.
And that's one of the last shots of the movie.
So yeah, in the movie, Robert Pattinson becomes intoxicated by the lighthouse, which represents fire, and so he kills Willem Dafoe and steals the light. He steals the fire from Dafoe, and then when he finally uses it, instead he's punished for it. And then the last shot of the film, he's on the rocks on the edge of the water, being eaten alive by seagulls.
Yeah.
Just like Prometheus.
When he finally breaks into the lighthouse and gets up into the light, you're just like, as an audience member, you're like,
What is it?
What's in there? What the fuck is up in that thing? And then, if you're familiar with history, and then you see his inside and his liver being eaten, you're like, oh, wow, this is Greek mythology. It's a representation of that.
Yeah, the modern story. And there's a lot of great imagery in this movie. A lot of great creature horror, but it's with the mermaid and then with the tentacles, and the deterioration of Robert Pattinson's mind, and his slowly building obsession with the light.
And then his growing animosity towards Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe, where they end up hating each other.
Yeah. Because he makes him do everything.
Yeah.
While Willem Dafoe is just up at the lighthouse all the time. And he's like making him do all the chores and making him carry the buckets up,
The oil.
up the stairwell and everything like that. And then it's also, there are some very funny moments in this movie.
Oh yeah, with the farting.
The farting in the bedroom. And then even just watching him bury him alive, you're just like, what the fuck's going on?
He makes him walk like a dog. He puts a leash on him.
Yeah.
He's like, bark dog, bark dog.
It's a crazy movie.
It's absolutely nuts.
It's not meant for most audiences, but it is a genius masterpiece of a movie.
And if you're into those kinds of movies, like, this is perfect for you.
Yeah. And it's a blend of genres.
Yeah.
And obviously that's only 6 movies, so I want to go over some honorable mentions real quick just to mention them.
Let's do it.
For other great movies during this decade, The Wailing, which you showed me, which is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The Babadook.
I love
very good.
Australian.
Might be a little bit overrated, but it's still very, very good. It Follows.
Fantastic.
It almost made this list of movies we're going to talk about. I'm sure that'll come up in a podcast episode later on. I love that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
Mandy.
Oh, yeah.
With Nick Cage.
I love Mandy. Yeah.
That movie was intense.
But I felt like it was more of like a sci-fi action than just horror, so it didn't meet the requirements for this list.
I'll put that on horror, but it's a very out there movie, man.
Yeah.
That movie's sick. Goodnight Mommy.
Yeah.
Which is
freaking
awesome.
Yeah.
About twins.
Hey, did you know today is National Twin Day?
Is it really?
Yeah.
We'll have to
Happy National Twin Day.
Yeah, you too. We'll have to post a selfie.
Yeah.
Midsommar, Ari Aster
Fantastic.
again, which we mentioned. Green Room
Oh my God, such a good movie.
with
Anton
Star Trek
Yelchin,
man.
yeah, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, really
Imogen
fucking
Poots.
good movie.
Yeah,
Terrifying, relevant today. All those movies are
that's
great.
a good B list
So this is our favorite horror movies of
of the last decade.
Yeah, 2010 to 2020. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
We had fun. It was a good one.
Episode 10 of the Raiders of the Lost podcast.
We got lots more coming your way too.
Again, hit us up in the DMs. Leave us some comments. Follow us on Raiders of the Lost podcast on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear it.
Hit us up. Don't be afraid. We respond to everything in the DMs. And also, we have a giveaway going on for a free movie poster. So we're giving away a movie poster to whoever wins our contest. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment on the giveaway video on the YouTube channel. And all you have to do is comment your favorite movie, and we'll send you, if you win, a poster of that movie.
Yeah.
And it's free.
Looking forward to it.
It's free $99. It's a free poster. Doesn't cost any money.
I like free 99.
Just name the movie and we'll send you something. And other than that, stay tuned for Thursday. We'll have a new episode coming for you.
Thanks for listening and thanks for watching.
All right. Have a great week.
Bye.